Welcome to Coffee with Democrats, a sensible platform for progressive conversations. Coffee with Democrats is a grassroots movement dedicated to hearing from Democrats, candidates, legislators, and friends from all political backgrounds who want great conversations. Coffee with Democrats is committed to increase Democrat voter registration and Democrat voter turnout by making voting more exciting and meaningful. And now here's your host of Coffee with Democrats, Kevin Dawson.
Good morning. Good morning. This is Kevin Dawson with Coffee with Democrats. We've got a special guest with us today on Coffee with Democrats, Brandon Wade. Brandon Wade is running for Congress in the, I'm trying to find it in my notes here, 2nd District. So we're looking forward to having this conversation with Brandon. Good morning, Brandon.
Morning.
Good morning. Hey, it's not going to be a morning on Coffee with Democrats if we don't have a conversation about coffee. So what is your favorite morning drink? If it's coffee or if it's a coffee substitute, water, what is the first thing you do when you get up and start charging your day and getting ready for the day?
I usually make coffee for the wife, but I'm not a big coffee myself. I drink it sometimes once here and there, but unfortunately, I do energy drinks.
So that's fine. So what's your favorite? What's your favorite energy drink?
I like the Monster, the mango one. I think
Mango
that's probably
Monster.
My favorite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that'll give you a little boost in the morning. So
yeah, gives me a little bit to go.
Yeah. For me, I like to get up first thing in the morning. I make a coffee for my wife. She likes Dunkin' vanilla. So I make that for her first thing in the morning. And then I make myself a K-Cup that's Mac Cafe. It's McDonald's brand that you can buy from the store. And that's my favorite one. And I always have to doctor it up because I don't really like the taste of coffee, but I like what coffee does for me. And like you, I'm a person of the trades. And I was on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 43 years. And because of that, I had to have coffee. I mean, it was that was the only thing that was available where I was at. You know, I was on trains and locomotives, and we don't go through Starbucks and we don't go through 7-Eleven stores. So when you're on the railroad, you have to kind of bring what you can carry with you. And so I got to drinking coffee a long time ago and just continued to today. But I always doctor it up with a little sweetener and a little cream or creamer just to kind of take the edge off the coffee because to me, coffee is very bitter and I've never enjoyed the taste of it. But and that's probably the reason why you don't drink it and have the monster drinks instead. Is it just has a much more flavorful experience going with an energy drink. So I'm gonna we're gonna before we go any further, we do need to have a little housekeeping moment here and talk to the listeners a little bit. For those people who are listening, Brandon is going to be on here with us. It's going to be a little bit more challenging for Brandon up where he lives. Internet's not as great as what we would like for it to be everywhere. So he's having to use his phone today, and but we're gonna bear with that and continue on with it. But we also ask our listeners to please share this event with as many people as you can. Brandon is going to be a great candidate. He's running up there, and like I said, in Senate District number 2, and he's somebody that we need to promote and help others get to know him, so that we can share his story and pull up support from every corner that we can. So those people who are listening, please share our story. We can be found on Twitter Live, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live. Our YouTube Live is at Coffee with Democrats 7998. Our Facebook Live is just Coffee with Democrats, and our Twitter account is at the @ Coffee with Dems, all one word, but Dems is shortened to just DEMS. They wouldn't let us take and write it out. We ran out of characters. As everybody knows on Twitter, it's character fed. So Anyway, Brandon, good morning. I'm glad you're with us this morning, and I'm glad you're here to talk to us about your campaign. And if you don't mind, I'm going to give you a little bit of a rest. I'm going to read a little bit. I've got an introduction for people so that they get to know a little bit about you. So Brandon was raised in Copan, and if anybody knows anything about far northeast Oklahoma, Copan is a very rural district, a very rural area, but it's got some great fisheries up there in that area. He went to school there, graduating in 1995. Brandon went to NSU for a bit, and then went back to Bartlesville to work. And that's when Brandon became a third-generation union worker. In the past 24 years, he's become the committee lead, chairperson, and the vice president for the executive board for the IUOE Local 351. Brandon will take his union experience and the tools he's learned to Congress. To represent people, you must first learn how to listen to people. You must be able to hear what the people want to do. Listen to the company, then come up with a solution that works for both parties. That approach is what is missing from our government. We're taking party sides instead of listening to the people about the needs that are needing to be addressed. Brandon will always represent the interest of his constituents in CD2, regardless of what party affiliation they may have. He will be a candidate for the people, not for the party. His experience negotiating union contracts and coming to agreements will help make Congress a more functional place so it will work for the people. The union way has always been the way for the working class. Unions have always been at the front of the line when it comes to demanding higher wages, safe work environments, and having a life where the employees and their families come first. That is exactly what you get with Brandon Wade. You are getting a proud union man that comes from rural Oklahoma and understands Oklahomans. Brandon believes it is time we start helping one another and get Congress to start working for the people again. So if you would please join me in his campaign and become part of the movement that brings real representation back to Oklahoma through and into Congress. So good morning, Brandon, and thank you so much for joining us. I think I summarized pretty much the platform that you've got, and I'm really proud to have you on Coffee with Democrats today.
Well, thank you. That's great to be here with you guys. I enjoy being around other Democrats and just sharing the message and platform, trying to reach as many people as possible.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk about several key topics, and we're going to limit it to basically 4 key topics. The platform of your opponent, and then we're going to talk about education, specifically, anything you want to talk about with education. I've kind of got driven it toward the current public teachers crisis. Then healthcare is a second topic. In the healthcare crisis we have in Oklahoma that includes women's rights to bodily autonomy and the almost absolute prohibition of abortion for any cause in the state of Oklahoma. And the last one that I think is probably going to be your strongest suit is jobs, and why corporations are leaving Oklahoma and why they refuse to come to Oklahoma to into a state that is not welcoming for corporations. So we're going to start with the first one, and we'll talk a little bit about who your opponent is.
All right. Well, my opponent's Josh Brasheen. He's starting his second. Well, this will be his run for a second term in office. I just feel like he's not representing the people of Oklahoma. You know, he's basically voting no on most everything he comes across. He wants to talk about, Christian values and funding things and trying to budget the budget, but not really representing the needs that are actually there. I think he's just not there to do the work of the people.
So really, he's an obstructionist who is only there for one purpose, and that's for Christian nationalism and the destruction of our Constitution. Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah, fair. That's probably a real fair statement.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen some of the things that he has put out, and He reminds me a lot of Ryan Walters. He reminds me a lot of Dusty Devers on the southwest side of the state. You know, these ultra Christian nationalists, ultra MAGA people that we really that they have no desire to represent the people of Oklahoma. Their purpose for being in Congress is self-serving and to perpetuate a specific code that is going to be that is only available for a very small fraction of the people within Oklahoma. So let's talk a little bit about education and what you perceive to be what's driving the current public teachers crisis.
It's the failure of the people of Oklahoma to get out and vote quality candidates that actually care about our education system and our children and our teachers in the office here in our state. To me, they're agenda driven. I mean, they want to do what's better for themselves and the partners that they have with the voucher programs and those situations where they're going to run the public education system. And also, controlling what they are going to teach is another agenda that I feel they have.
Right. And we see that when you were talking about the voucher system, it's specifically driven towards when you see the statistics of all the people who are receiving vouchers, you're seeing a very distinct thing, I guess you could say, out of that, that over like 3/4 of the people who are receiving vouchers never had their child in public school to begin with. So they're just, we're subsidizing the wealthy, or this is welfare for the wealthy voucher scheme with the detriment to our public schools. And in your area up there where you live, how many private schools can you just think of off the top of your head where people can actually go to private schools up in this very rural area where you live?
There's not very many. I don't know the names of what there are. I know there's probably one or two here in the Bartlesville area, but really we're just public education schools in most area up here. We're rural communities, and they're the heart of the community. I mean, where I come from, Copan. If public education goes away, our rural school goes away, then that community is going to dry up and go away as well.
I haven't told this story before, but I spent about 6 months in a little town of Pickaway, Kansas. Pickaway, Kansas was between Yates Center and Iola, Kansas on Highway 54. Pickaway was just north of 54 highway, a few miles. When they closed down that public school at Pickaway, not only did the town dry up, but so did the jobs in the area, and many of the agricultural jobs in the area. People had to leave that area and follow and go somewhere else because they could no longer afford to pay for their kids to be transported to Yates Center or to Iola or Humboldt or some of the other towns around that area. And that's just one case in my lifetime, in my experience. And I know that there's thousands of things like that everywhere. And when you talk about the heartbeat of a community and being the public school, it is true. And when you see that vouchers are going to come in and take all this money away, several things that you're going to see disappear. You're going to see sporting events, which again, those drive a large portion of the economy in these communities, whether it be people coming in for gas or, just buying snacks and dinners and things like that, but also, the hotels that support them. And of course, the teachers and administration, the faculty, the staff that work at those places, they're all going to be detrimentally affected anytime that school is closed down or there's a shift in finances. So I agree with you totally that education and the current crisis that we have in Oklahoma is only going to be harmed by these policies. But what do you think about Ryan Walters and what he has done in Oklahoma?
Again, he's another person that's there for himself. I mean, he's and his agendas that he has, and the people around him that want these things pushed. He's spending Oklahoma taxpayer dollars going to other places, other states, and handling things in his best interest, not the community here in Oklahoma or our schools. I mean, he's never should have been allowed to get elected. I mean, we've had a horrible mistake there with not enough voter turnout to get the thing done that we need. And I think that's the important message we got to get relayed to Oklahomans. We got to show up to vote.
Exactly right. 100%. We need to show up to vote. One of the problems that we have in Oklahoma is the same problem that they got over in Arkansas, up in Missouri and Kansas around us. We don't have a voter problem. We have a no-show problem. People not showing up to vote. So I totally agree with you on that. Also, we've got an issue in Oklahoma that is only in 4 other states, and that is straight party voting. And so in your opinion, again, whether it has to do with education, healthcare, jobs, what your opponent is trying to initiate through Christian nationalism, which is essentially Nazism for today. What do you say to those Republicans when it comes to straight party voting? What would be your message about that one little check mark and being done with your entire vote?
Well, just as I tell a lot of my friends that are Republicans that I'm trying to convince, we have conversations about political issues and where I stand and their stance. And we have agreement with a lot of different things we talk about. And at the end of the conversation with one of them, it was, well, I don't know if I'll be able to vote for you because I usually just straight party vote. I asked, why would you do that? Educate yourself on your candidates. You just got done agreeing that you agreed with most of the topics we were talking about. Why wouldn't you check a mark by my name and actually research the candidates? I'm not saying vote for a Republican versus a Democrat, whichever way it needs to be, but research a candidate, finds the candidate that best represents you, and then go in and make an educated decision based on what you found with the candidates. I think that's the biggest message. Just don't go check a box. Lazy voting, I guess, is what I would call it. Actually be informed with your decisions and actually check a candidate that's going to represent you.
I mean, yeah, lazy voting. That's what it is. And they're really not voting for themselves when they do that, because there's so many great people that are out there. I mean, aside from the campaign that you have, we can give everybody an example. Somebody who is a very strong conservative who left the Republican Party to come over to the Democrat to run against Stitt because she felt that he was such a failure. And that was Joy Hoffmeister. And again, what killed her was straight party voting. And if people would have just followed their heart and understood that, this state is failing rapidly under Kevin Stitt. Companies are leaving. I mean, we just looked down the road here at Ardmore, and you can look at what's going on with Canoe and how Canoe is failing Oklahoma and just robbing us blind. They're paying for a CEO under Kevin Stitt's watch. They're buying a CEO for Canoe. They're buying him his own private plane jet to fly all over the United States, using Oklahoma taxpayer money that we gave to them as a subsidy, and they're continuing to lose money, and they won't last. They won't be in business very much longer based on the way that they're conducting business. And again, if people would just understand, if you go straight party voting and what you're voting for has proven to fail, you're continuing to vote for failure. So straight party voting, you've got to turn it around, do exactly what Brandon said. Educate yourself about who the candidate is and vote for the best candidate who represents what you want out of this state. If you want this state to improve and get better, then think about voting for a Democrat. I'll just say that straight up, because Democrats have they want to be progressive. They want to bring this state and bring it around. That's going to be Brandon Wade's platform, is to help Oklahomans and not help corporate America. So let's talk about the healthcare crisis and what you've seen in your area when it comes to, the hospital closures and doctors leaving because of laws that are being passed, particularly when it comes to abortion care and women through IVF treatment, or, whatever it is that OBGYNs are leaving the state in droves. because of the draconian legislature that we have that's pushing these doctors out of the state. You want to talk more about, what your experiences are when it comes to healthcare?
Yeah, it's the healthcare situation. We just like you said, you're seeing doctors leave, which leaves the hospitals where they're barely functioning. They lose their credibilities where they can't handle more serious situations, which leaves you driving like Bartlesville. Most cases here are having to run to Tulsa or Owasso for emergency care and treatment, and it's only going to get worse in those cities as well. As far as on the women's healthcare situation, they're just not going to be able to do that, and they're not going to take the risks in the state of Oklahoma, the suits that may come before them for providing basic healthcare that every woman should be allowed to have.
And it's amazing that the people in northern Oklahoma, they have to go find their healthcare in Kansas, because there is nothing here in Oklahoma that really supports the women and their bodily autonomy and healthcare for women, whether it be a non-viable pregnancy or an unplanned pregnancy that needs to be taken care of, or we see other health issues of the mother. But again, in order to find care, they have to be transported out of the state to someplace like Wichita, Kansas, in order to receive health care. And Bartlesville's not that far from Wichita, so I can just see that, if you looked at a satellite image, you would probably see an exodus from space of women who are leaving Oklahoma and going to Kansas for health care.
Yeah, and that's very unfortunate. I mean, that's why on the national level, we have got to get elected officials in office that can actually codify Roe and restore the rights of the women for their privacy and their health care. It's a basic human right that everybody should have, and there's no reason that in the United States of America we can't have health care for women.
You're exactly right. In the last topic, and we did touch a lot on jobs, but we touched a lot on it. But let's talk more about that, because that seems to be your expertise, is working with corporations, working with a union labor workforce, and how to work with corporations and executives in order to get things accomplished. Talk to us a little bit about some of your experiences working within the workforce and getting things done.
It just comes to, like I said, compromise, being able to understand each agenda. Each side has things they need to see done and things they want to have done, and you just got to work together to find the middle ground that works best for both sides. And with doing that, you're not going to get everything you want. You can't have 100% of everything, but that doesn't mean you can't make an effort towards trying to improve. And that's exactly what you got to do when you sit down at a table. Is I bring my strong points of what we got, what we need to have done. The other side will come with what they need, and then you can sit there and work out the easy stuff, and then knock out the hard stuff, and come to an agreement that works for the whole. And that's just kind of the approach that needs to be took back into our Congress.
And I have to agree with you. I'm gonna do the ugliest thing that you can do on the internet, especially on Zoom. I'm going to do that dreaded screen share. I've got your website up here, and I want people to be able to see your website. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to create a screen share. So bear with me as I get through this. All right, here we go. This is what we need right here. This is the screen for Brandon Wade for Oklahoma CD2. It gives his story right here on the front. And he is a great ambassador. He travels the entire state. As a matter of fact, he was with me on Saturday for a candidate's workshop. And it was a great time for us to kind of spend some time with each other and work with our building our knowledge on some of the things that we need to do throughout the state and how he can help his campaign grow. And but here's his website that I'm scrolling through. But I want everybody to know that Brandon, this is a big ask. This is a huge ask, but I want to show you something that I was very impressed with on Brandon's website. He understands Oklahomans. He understands the economy that we live in, and he understands that that instead of coming out here and asking for big donations, I want you to see this. This impressed me today, really a lot. When you come across his website, you can see all the icons across the top up here. And then you go over to donate. And the first thing that you'll see when it comes up, he's not asking for big dollar donors. He's asking for the nickel and dime donors like you and me, people who are struggling every day going paycheck to paycheck, but we're trying to make our lives better. And he understands that. So look at the way that he structured his contribution. This is his ask for your help. We have three things that we have with in our life. Basically, we've got our life, that is something that's so great, so important. We have to be able to build on that. But the other things that we have, one of them is our treasure, and we can share our treasure. The other things are finite. They're defined. You can't take them away. But our treasure we can share, and we need to be able to share, because that the donation that we give is also a reward for us for giving. And Brandon's not going to take this money and blow it. He's going to utilize this money for his campaign so that he can come back to Oklahoma as your representative. So I really appreciate the way that you've got this structured, Brandon, and thank you for doing that. And I'll say this out loud. This is the first time I've seen somebody who cared about the donor and started the contributions at the $5 and $10 rate instead of the $100 and $200 rate. I think you did an absolutely wonderful job by doing that. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for saying that. I mean, it means a lot. I understand being a working class guy. I mean, there's times, especially in this day and age, where paycheck to paycheck, a lot of families in Oklahoma are living that, and it's hard to give. Even the $5 or $10 is hard to do. So anything that can be given is greatly appreciated and will be utilized to reach more Oklahomans and get the voice out there. And even if you can't donate, reach out. And let's try to get some grassroots stuff going where we get more people out to knock doors, things like that. There's many other ways of helping the campaign as well.
Yeah, your time is the other thing that is available, and being a volunteer, just like what Brandon said, is absolutely wonderful. As a candidate, the one thing that I hear is you are trying very desperately to go house to house, meet all the constituents that you can possibly meet. And you've got a goal set, and we don't need to talk about what your goal is, but you're going to try to meet that goal. And it gets harder as the time gets closer to the election. And as that time goes on, one of the easiest things a person can do that is, if you're like me, you don't like confrontation, you don't want to go up to somebody's door because you're afraid of that somebody might reject you. I understand that. I completely understand that. I overcome that every single day, but I also understand my value in driving Brandon around the neighborhood. It just makes it so easy to drop him off at one end of the block, let him do his thing, meet him in the other end, and have a cool car with a glass of water ready to refresh him. That is such an important thing. And Brandon will forever be in your debt if you can do that to help him out.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I mean, yeah, it's just the little things like that. It means so much, and it helps you reach more people, and it makes it easier. The day goes by quicker, and it's just nice to have somebody there with you. And like I said, just a cool car and a nice glass of water goes a long way.
Well, even words of encouragement whenever you've had that struggle with somebody, it's really tough. Here, I see a picture when we go to Oklahoma City, or excuse me, OKCD2 issues, and I see the pictures here with other candidates, with Chair Ray Ann Wilson and another candidate, Dennis Baker, for U.S. Senate. but you guys will campaign together. And one of the things that is on here is the Oklahoma Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival. And good Lord, don't we need that? When we 4 years ago, we had so many people who were spewing hate, and they were doing it in the name of the red hat. You know, that was just so disheartening. But I see the campaigns that you're involved in with, and again, you've got a very large area. It does not encompass Tulsa, but it goes from the Kansas border, along the Missouri border, along the Arkansas border, all the way down to Texas. And then it goes back toward the east, towards I-35 and everything in between. I mean, probably the biggest city that you have in your entire district is going to be McAllister and Bartlesville.
Yes, yeah.
So I'm guessing that those are probably two of the larger cities anyway. And any place in between is it's very difficult to get from place to place. I mean, our roads in Oklahoma are in okay shape, but boy, we really got some problems. And then when I read here about your a real living wage for rural Oklahoma, I see that, you know, it's the numbers that you put together there are absolutely perfect. You want to talk a little bit about what you understand with the real living wage for rural Oklahoma?
Yeah, it's kind of shocking when I got looking at those for Washington County up here, which, you know, I kind of take Washington County being like most rural areas throughout CD2. I mean, you got a little more. The cost of living is going to be about the same, I think, throughout all CD2 mostly. But it's, you know, a single person there is, well, I believe, I can't really see it, but I think it's like 1549 for a single person without any kids. And to me, that's a bare minimum. I mean, I don't really know too many that are making it on that by themselves out there in the world anyway. But then the more, when you start adding kids, it just continues to climb and climb and climb. You know, without good paying jobs in the state of Oklahoma, those kind of things are not going to be attainable. I mean, and that's why the living wage campaign, or the raising a minimum wage campaign that we got going, started Tuesday, I believe, getting petitions and stuff to try to put it on a ballot is so important. We need people to show up to vote for that and try to drive that. It hadn't been changed since 2009. And I think Oklahoma is one of 20 states that are still operating at that minimum wage level. So at the federal side, we need to do something about that. We need to adjust it to closer, at least get to that 1549 area, and then continue to increase it yearly based on what cost of living and things are. I don't know of very many Oklahomans or anybody throughout the U.S. that would say they don't want to raise every year. I mean, I know as a union guy, we negotiate our contracts, and we got raises coming every year of our contract, percentage raises based on what we can negotiate throughout the years. But I can't imagine. I've worked there for 25 years, and there's only been 2 times in that time period that I hadn't got a raise yearly. And, you know, and that's not counting all the individual things that we have with the union that comes up that we get. But those 2 times we didn't get a raise, it was because the economy was doing so bad, and it was years that we was going to need to go into negotiation. And we were just afraid of what we would lose doing it, negotiating in such bad times. So we agreed to go 1 year, extend the contract a year without an increase. So, you know, if we can continue to raise our wages like that, because that's what the people need to live, then, you know, our minimum wage needs to do the same thing. And then you got to hold the corporations in check. I mean, it does no good to raise that minimum wage and then allow corporations just to continue to raise their profit shares up and their prices based on the wage going up, and they're already making record profits year after year.
You know, the latest study that I read yesterday shows that 5 out of 6 people throughout the United States, including here in Oklahoma, say that corporate greed is what's driving our inflation in the United States. And we know that to be a fact. I mean, we're paying gas prices now in the $3 range, and we know that the oil companies are the ones who are driving that, because they're making, you know, enormous, almost 100% profits. And it's crazy. You know, just a few years ago, their profits were so huge, even when the production was down, because of the money that they received, the welfare that they got from the federal government. It's the welfare for me, but not for thee mentality that the corporate elite have, and it's a sad state of affairs. Another thing that you've got on your topic list here that you want to talk about that's affecting Oklahoma families is mental health. You want to talk more about that?
Sure. Yeah, mental health is an issue that is affecting a lot of different things in here. You know, the homeless situation we see, which growingly, just going through CD2 the other day, going down from northern Oklahoma up here down to Durant. You just going through cities like Tulsa and other places, you see a tremendous growth of homeless situation, and I believe a lot of that is based on mental health is one, whether they're not able to get the medications they need and stay on it, be therapeutic with it to help function. And then other reasons for that is, not just the mental health side of it, but it's, somebody catches a bad break or a health issue that comes up and it forces them out of their home. They get behind and lose their home or lose rent and can't stay there anymore. So then it becomes a vicious cycle to try to get back on their feet, and it just can't never seem to gain ground in this world that we're in right now. The economy, the way it's going with the corporate greed and everybody charging so much for the basic needs that you have to have, it causes that vicious cycle. But mental health is a big issue that I think we need to address with our veterans as well as everybody throughout, whether it be a bipolar situation or just getting along or coping out in anxiety, getting out and being able to function in normal everyday life. There's things that we need to do to help people attain the things that they need to make those ways of their life a little easier.
And then the last thing that we'll talk about that you have on here is immigration reform, and the great American dream. And one of the arguments that I have with the Republican family and friends that I have is the what I see is etched on the Statue of Liberty: "Give us your poor," and people that they look at the Statue of Liberty and they scoff at it now and say, no, that's an 1800s issue. That's not a today issue. We don't want people coming to America from overseas. We want to keep those people out. But you talk a lot about the American dream and DACA and things like that are on your list. So I want to give you an opportunity to talk more about, what you think we could be doing better when it comes to immigration reform.
Well, first of all, we need to put more money in the southern border, I believe, definitely, but it's money in ways and areas that need, like, more judges, more people to handle the inflow of immigrants coming into this nation to make a quicker path to citizenship. I mean, to me, I think it's unfortunate the way today's world is. I think it's all a money issue more than anything, and our government's guilty of that just as much as anybody. It's making money off of these immigrants coming into this country. They can get the cheaper labor, which corporations should be disciplined for that. If they're paying somebody less than what they're supposed to be paying, then we need to go after them because they're breaking the laws just as much as the Republicans are saying people coming across illegally are. It's not there's more than one person to blame in this situation. But then with the judges and things like that to make a quicker path, I have a couple that worked with me down here at the place that I work at in Slumberjay that had been here since '85. And just paying residence fee, doing everything they could legally, but had to pay a residence fee every year. And they just finally, a few weeks ago, become U.S. citizens since 1985. I mean, that is too long of a process, but I can't think that that's all because of a money situation. It's getting money to pay that every year to be here and work here, pay and contribute. They still contribute to taxes. They still contribute to Social Security, but they're just not a U.S. citizen. And to me, that's a shame. And that's not what this country is built on. We were built on immigrants coming to this country, and we should be welcoming people here and welcoming them to become U.S. citizens. I mean, that's part of the American dream. People come here to have a better life.
So we're joined with Steve Holcomb. And Steve, if you have any questions, please go ahead and contribute. We're getting close to the point where we're going to start winding down our conversation. But as we do that, Brandon, I want you to think about, when you go out and you meet with people in small groups or even large groups, you're giving your campaign speeches. Can you give us your best campaign speech now for us to be able to share with other voters? and why people, why the voters in the CD2 district should vote for you.
Sure. Like I said, I'm a union guy. I'm not a politician. I'm a union guy. So where I'm at is I want to take the things I've learned from union negotiating to our Congress. We're dysfunctional right now in our Congress, and we can't get anything done. The party bickerson back and forth needs to stop, and we need to get to where we're actually working together to come to the solutions that work best for the people. The people's what matters, and that's who we're supposed to be representing. As a representative, you're supposed to represent the people. To do that, you have to listen to everybody. That's exactly what I'm going to do as your candidate and as your congressman. I'm going to go there and represent you. I'll be back here every time I'm not there. I'll be here running through CD2, hearing what the people need and what they need to have done. I got a cell phone that I give out to everybody that will not change when I get there. Make a phone call, leave a message. I'll get back with you, and we'll address the situations. If you want to know why this ain't happening or why that's not happening, we're in accountability is a big thing to me. We must hold people accountable. So if there's an issue, I'm going to let you know the people that are holding it up. This is the problem we have. It's just getting to work, getting out there and organizing, making the place a better place to live for everybody, and trying to do the best, raise wages and provide education for everybody. And then also healthcare for all. That we've got to make those attainments.
Wow, those are great campaign pledges, and I appreciate that. So I'm gonna again, everybody who is out there, spread the word about Brandon Wade. He's a great candidate for Oklahoma CD2, and to follow him, go to Brandon for Congress. I'll spell it out: BRANDON, the number 4. Congress.com. I'll also put it on the in credits here so people can see that, and I'll also put it a bar here, either be up here or over the top of my head. I'll make sure that everybody can see how to get in touch with Brandon and follow his campaign and be able to make contributions. And the contributions, the best way to do that is through his website. And just click on donate. And again, I'm going to give you all the credit in the world. I've never seen this in any other candidate, but you started your whole donation process at $5. And that speaks volumes, because the people in Eastern Oklahoma who are struggling, it makes it easy for them to make that one selection of just the small donor. That's what's going to drive your campaign, and that's what you've driven, or that's what you've focused your campaign on, is the small donor. And I appreciate that. I really do. I think that's a smart, very wise thing for you to be accomplishing. So again, as we wind down, I really appreciate having you on Coffee with Democrats. We've got another, as we close this down, Brandon, I'll give you a couple more last words, but I want to just tell the listeners, we've got another person coming on tomorrow, Senator for the 46th Oklahoma Senate District here in the Oklahoma City area. We're going to have him on tomorrow. And then next week, we're also going to have a lady out of Tennessee that's going to be on next week. And not only are we trying to help with Coffee with Democrats in the state of Oklahoma, which is our home state, but we're also branching out to other people in other states to help them as well. Because when we can drive the focus in a broader scope, we not only help ourselves, but we help others as well. Or I should say, when we help others, we actually help ourselves, just like we saw in the last election when we drove Ted Cruz to have to come up here to Oklahoma instead of going to Arizona. Arizona won, and we won the presidency because of making that move. And I think that we can take credit for that as Oklahomans. So thanks for being on Coffee with Democrats, Brandon. I promised you I wanted to give you the last couple of words. Anything that you want to say as we close this down?
Just appreciate everybody and all your time. Please donate if you can. If you can't, reach out to me through the website. If you're willing to go out and help volunteer or knock doors, or like I said, drive me around in different areas, that would be greatly appreciated. We got to reach out and communicate with a bunch of people, and that's the only way we're going to win this election, is we can have a actual contact and speak with people and actually let them know the truth of where we stand, and that we want to provide a living wage education and healthcare for all, and protect our women's rights and give them the right to privacy and healthcare. So Social Security is another issue we didn't touch on, but that's another issue that we got to protect and take care of as well. But thank you for your time. It's been great to visit with you. Love being here.
Well, we love having you on. So again, thanks for coming on Coffee with Democrats, Brandon. We wish you all the best. Let's stay in touch, okay, brother? Because I think that we got to do everything we can to help your campaign. And if we can get you on here again, maybe around midsummer, maybe we can try to help bring a boost. And we'll talk then about what your schedule is and what people can do as we push for the vote. So everybody, until we come back on Coffee with Democrats tomorrow, everybody please be safe. Thank you.
Thank you.